Horror games have been surprisingly dormant throughout 2018. With the exception of a few ports and complete editions, there hasn't been a horror game for this year that's been worth talking about. Most of the titles have been lukewarm at best, unimaginative, and lazy at worst. Just take a look at our review of Agony. One game that has grabbed our attention is Call of Cthulhu, developed by Cyanide Studio and published by Focus Home Interactive. Although, before we jump in, it's important to note that this game has no correlation to Bethesda Softworks' Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth from 2005. Instead, this game is based on the pen and paper RPG published by Chaosium. So, no, you aren't going to wake up to the townsfolk banging down your door.
Who goes there?
Welcome to MojoPlays, and this is our review of Call of Cthulhu. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Call of Cthulhu sees you playing as Edward Pierce, an alcoholic private investigator who has been asked to investigate the death of the Hawkins family. As you begin to unravel mysteries, you'll quickly discover that Darkwater Island houses a creepy cult of Cthulhu fanboys. Unfortunately, the story doesn't get more interesting than its source material. Most of the dialogue comes off either silly or repetitive. The number of times I was reminded of Pierce's alcoholism or a Hawkins being dead was about as many times as I've been reminded that my rent is due, which is too often.
Tell me, Mr. Pierce, are you capable of handling a new case, or are you simply a deadbeat inebriate?
There doesn't seem to be much effort coming from the voice acting either, which ends up downplaying the dramatic moments.
Dead? This ritual killed him. Where's the sense in that?
Making things more frustrating is how Pierce would freak out over a character dying only to shrug it off like it's nothing 2 seconds later.
You knew about the beast.
Dude, these characters are resurrecting like they're freaking Superman. How can you ignore any of this when you saw them die with your own eyes? We suppose part of this unanswered question is our fault because we didn't make Pierce more intelligent in speech. So, some mysteries won't be solved because, basically, we made Pierce too stupid.
The epic battle between man and whale.
Oh yeah, did we mention Call of Cthulhu has some RPG elements? You can upgrade Pierce in 7 different areas: strength, investigation, eloquence, medicine, occultism, psychology, and spot hidden, which makes hidden objects more obvious to you. Each of these statistics will allow you to interact with the world in a variety of ways. There are some locks you can't pick because your investigation stats might be too low.
This padlock is too complicated for me.
Or some questions might be locked because Pierce's eloquence stat isn't high enough, making him negligent in asking important things like, how the f are you still alive? However, if you're looking for a complex skill tree of stats and abilities, you're not going to find one here. Call of Cthulhu's system isn't anything more outside of spend a point to increase a stat, and hopefully that stat will prove to be useful later on. We can see that Cyanide had some idea for an interesting RPG system, but it just didn't translate well. The gameplay is a different story. Most of your time will be spent mucking about and wandering around an environment until you see a white dot that says, hey, you can do something with this. Stealth segments aren't much of a challenge either, but we had some fun messing with the AI because of their oblivious behavior.
An intruder!
Nope, you totally didn't see us running across the room a few feet away. While we're on the subject of technical issues, Call of Cthulhu isn't as disjointed as the Great Dreamer's victims, but it's still worth mentioning that we had some weird moments. Audio levels were often fluctuating between pre-rendered cutscenes and in-game dialogue. Characters would occasionally interrupt each other too. We also had an instance where after we interacted with Fitzroy, he levitated forward and talked to us with his back turned the whole time.
From here, I see everything that goes on in the harbor.
We've been talking a lot about the bad stuff, but that isn't to say that Call of Cthulhu isn't as maddening as an unsupervised asylum. In fact, it boasts a unique art style and does an excellent job at building an atmosphere. There are many moments where you'll want to stop and take in the view, despite how unsettling and disturbing it may be. One might also be enticed to find the various collectibles strewn throughout the environments.
Where do they keep their sleeping pills?
Finding sleeping pills has never been more fun.
I could use one of those.
Another strong area is the puzzles. Call of Cthulhu will make you think, and those eureka moments are highly rewarding.
They must be linked to an opening mechanism. Probably a secret passage.
Some puzzles will simply require quick actions, while others involve decoding hidden messages. One of the best puzzles involved listening to audio tapes and interacting with objects in order to learn the combination to a safe. We actually had to get out a paper and pencil for this one because of its complexity, and it was immensely satisfying to solve on our own. Oh, wait, this is a horror game too. Is Call of Cthulhu a scary game? Well, it's a yes and a no. There were a few times where the game managed to scare us or send us into a panic, but these moments were so few and far between that we almost forgot we were playing a horror game. To its credit, Call of Cthulhu does have plenty of eerie moments, yet they aren't enough to make your skin crawl.
What does this mean?
That being said, if you're looking for something that'll make you cry in the corner, Call of Cthulhu isn't that kind of a ride. Call of Cthulhu is far from a terrible game.
And what brings you to that conclusion?
There's a few good scares in there, a beautifully creepy world to explore, and the puzzles are a real mental challenge. We mean that in a good way, not the driven to insanity way. However, it's hard to recommend this game because of its messy plot, weak voice acting, occasionally dumb AI, and Wonder Bread RPG system. If you're a fan of H.P. Lovecraft and all things related to squid dragons, you might get a kick out of Call of Cthulhu. Just don't set your expectations too high. Check out these other great clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.